of a given argument for being knowledge. So suppose there is a story in which a character has some justified true belief, but still he may have knowledge despite having no relevant for false belief at all. So this was the further challenge to this, um, coming at the idea of knowledge. So for example, suppose there is a person, he sees a display of muffins. The muffins is a kind of food in America. So he may say that there are definitely muffins, but suppose they are all plastic muffins. But he says that they look like the real muffins, and he says that there are muffins there. But actually, there is no real muffin on the table. But suppose there is a real muffin hidden in somewhere inside the table, but not visible. So the statement becomes true that there is the muffins there, real muffins are there. But what he saw were all plastic muffins. So it becomes, again, will you call it a knowledge or not? This was the thing. So there is some gap between source of your justification, say the plastic display, and the fact that makes your belief true, that muffins under the counter. A good theory of knowledge would do something to close that gap. So there is some person called Goldman. He gave a causal theory of knowledge. He says that it requires a knower to be appropriately causally connected to a fact. So he introduced the word appropriate. Now, in ordinary cases of experience, there is a clear causal connection to our believing it. Normally, we will not deny that I'm feeling hungry or in normal situations, but there may be some tricky situations where it backfires. Further, some categories are there like memory and testimony. They can also connect us with some facts. And through these causal chains, we can link back to the earlier events of the experience and experience of others also. So the problems is that within this type of scenario, how shall we spell the notion of an appropriate causal chain without using the idea of knowledge itself? The very idea that we are trying to define. That means to define an appropriate causal chain, we need some conception of knowledge. And so how we do that? Thinking as if the knowledge is something elementary and trying to again define that knowledge. So without an elementary notion of knowledge itself, we are unable to create a clear, appropriate causal chain. So there is something wrong in divorcing knowledge from justification and evidence. Moreover, it is also possible to tell a story in which someone is causally related to a fact in an appropriate way and still he may lack knowledge. Next. Yeah. So he came to do a fresh analysis, and he says that knowledge should be focused upon reliability but not on causation. So he gives an example. Suppose you go to a barn, and in that barn there is some kind of fake barns are there, but like but there may be a true barn somewhere, but you may see the fake barn and think that they are true barns. So the statements is not wrong, but the fake barn because there is this true barn in middle of those fake barns. So what way we can say our assumptions, which way they become reliable? So there are many examples in knowledge epistemology where it is proven that classical analysis is missing something. So one famous person is known as this Zagajewski-Recip. He has generated counterexamples to massive range of proposed theories of knowledge. So philosophers have begun to suspect that problem of analyzing knowledge was not solvable. Next. So actually, this epistemology is a very big subject. I have not, there are further topics in that, but still the problem is at that point, that kind of, it is not yet solvable. It is not yet solved. The question of what is exact knowledge or what is exact epistemology is not clear. So at that point, we must also look at ancient Indian treatises, what they have to contribute and say about these things. Because ancient treatises are not limited to modern epistemology. They have something deeper, and therefore we must see how they have analyzed such problems and taken it up further. So, in ancient India also, these issues have been discussed. So, for example, there is one named Dharmottara. He is from the Indo-Tibetan traditions. So, he gives an example. Suppose you see a dark swan above the horizon, and then you mistake it for smoke. There are other examples he gives. In a desert, a traveler sees a mirage. But suppose that under the rock there is some real water. So did the traveler know that there is water? So these type of, in our ancient India, they say fallacies. These fallacies were a common topic of, discussion among the logicians, whether Buddhists or whether the Hindus, everywhere among the Nyayikas. So in the 14th century, there was a very big Nyayika, his name is Gangesha, and he has given a detailed causal theory of knowledge. So this is also, this type of thing is dependent upon various types of logic, arguments, etc. But when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he has shown also that there are many defects in the method of logic in ascertaining definite knowledge. So for example, in the beginning, he was presenting himself as the teacher of logic. And he used to ask so many questions and counter questions. And he will establish one point, but then he will deny that point by some other logic. Again, he will establish, again, he will dissolve it. In this way, many ways he will establish, and again he will dissolve it. So in this way, he has said that this logic, method of logic, cannot, that is tarko apratistha. The real knowledge is not ascertainable by mere logic. We need something more of that, more deeper categories. So gradually modern science is also turning towards a more holistic conceptual approach in biology, because the reductionist approach has already failed to explain life and the cell. For example, the gene-based determinism also gives a partial explanation of various observations. So the question comes, how far we can believe about our so-called knowledge about biology from gene-based conceptions. So this question comes up from these very questions of epistemology. Next one. So there are different systems in our Vedic Shad-darsanas are there, but among them Vedanta has the highest position and is of a distinct character within these Indic systems of philosophical approaches. Vedanta is the path of Sharanagati and revealing process of concluding Siddhantas. So one is the aggressive way of knowing things, other is the surrendering before the authority. So that is what the Vedanta has mentioned. So different schools of Indian philosophy include various epistemological methods for obtaining valid knowledge. This includes direct sense perceptions, inference, logic, hypothesis, argumentation, testimony, etc. But the Vedantic system demands that all ontological truths can be realized by direct perception if one follows the path of Saranagati. It rejects the concept that do not relate to absolute as defective knowledge. Vedanta clearly explains consciousness cannot result merely from the material interactions. Everything is a Bheda Prakash, or everything subsists due to the potencies of the absolute truth. And behind everything, there is absolute will and its sanction. So when people are trying to know things from their finite perspectives, they always come to this point of limitations. So our Vedanta has advised that you must now discuss about what is the absolute. That is called Athato Brahma Jigyasha in the Vedanta Sutra. Brahma, this is, in a simple way, we may say the absolute truth. So without which your knowledge will be always incomplete. Next. So then within those Bengal, in Navadvip, which was the seat of Nyaya philosophy, he established the Bhagavad Vedanta philosophy as the spotless pramana, the way to move ahead. That means, first he established himself as a great scholar of Nyaya, and later he established that merely method of logic and argumentation cannot reveal the ultimate reality. For that, he first established the Pramana Tattva, or epistemology known as Shabda Brahman. So he found many defects in the methods of logic and established the concept of antasphota. With the help of Vidvad Rudi, he established that the only method to realize the ultimate sadhya prayojana was kirtina sadahari, or glorification of Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means to think that I can know something from our final perspective is a kind of a false ego, because we cannot, we have our limitations and we become stuck up with that, and what we then consider as knowledge is something different. It's not real knowledge corresponding to the truth of the thing. Okay, next. Okay. So now if you see, in ancient times, Vyakarana was a big subject. Everybody was studying grammar. Now because when you are studying Shabda, Shabda means sound. So this sound means first you have to study how these words, languages are being formed, how they acquire meanings. This was a big question. So this Vyakarana grammar was a popular topic among the Nyayikas, and they follow the traditional system of Panini. With the help of tools of grammar, they try to relate the meaning of the verbal roots, nominal stems, and their inflections. But an important question is, why do words and sounds have particular meanings? The Nyaya Shastra considers Shabda, or words of reliable person, as a valid means of acquiring knowledge. Now this, the Acharya of the Nyaya Sutra is Gautam Rishi. So unfortunately, there is some statement there. The connection between a word and its meaning is conventional and not natural. Conventional means when you like what they are doing in modern AI or modern language theories. So how languages originate? They are asking this question, and there are a lot of research is going on also in IITs and other institutions. In 2005 also this question was raised in Science magazine, how languages originated. That means how words have their meanings. So according to them, they are just conventional. Languages are just conventions. But the thing is, according to logic of the Nyayikas, the connection, though fixed by man, is not inseparable and therefore cannot be basis of an inference. There is no universal uniformity of connection between a word and its meaning. The Veda is reliable like a spell of and medical science because of the reliability of their authors. So this is some like inconclusive or incomplete understanding of the what Vedas are, because this logic school is not the founder of Vedas, but it is an important part of Indian darshanas. So the conclusion from the Vedantic side is, therefore, because of this type of thinking, Nyaya cannot conceive, the logic cannot conceive the real position of Sruti and Smriti. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established Bhagavata as a spotless proof and established the principle of this glorification of Lord Hari. Now the meaning of Sruti. The Lord Hari has himself explained in Brahma Kanda that truth of sound, Shabda Tattva, is beginningless and indestructible. Maharshi Panini has explained that varnas individually or in compound form are incapable to produce any meaning by themselves as ordinary sounds. They arise momentarily and then go away, and therefore their collection is also impossible. Other than sphota, sphota means organically like bursting out from some unknown source. So sphota is some kind of meaning like that. So other than sphota, their ability to produce any meaning is lost. The eternal sound is sphota, and acting organically with syllables, it reveals the meaning. If there was no sphota, the syllable could not produce any meaning. The words and their sounds arise simultaneously according to a harmony, and their sequential positions are not accidental or mechanical addition. Even Jaimini has also accepted that words must be accepted as eternal. Next, okay. Asha, can you remove that top portion because people cannot see the. Yeah, okay. So, meaning of Shabda Brahman. So, the Patanjali and others do not accept Shabda as merely form of some sound, but transcendent to sound. The Sphota Tattva is a Sarupa or the self form of Shabda and the revealer of its significance or meaning. So, this is a sloka from Bhagavatam. This is talking about the Omkara. Three Vrid means three syllables, A, U, Ma, this Omkara. This is Swarat, independent, not dependent on something external. So, Salingam Bhagavato Brahmanah Paramatmanah. Lingam means symbolism of that or meaning of that, that is non-different from the Paramatma. So meaning is then from that nad, by its own accord, it becomes self-revealed within the heart, being chanted with the help of the throat, lips, etc. Trimatri or inferred as a u ma from the word trivrid or the omkar. This omkar is non-different parabrahman, paramatma or bhagavan. From this verse, we can find the eternality of words that constitute the omkar. So, if I ask you, how are you speaking something? How you are saying ma? Have you thought about it? You are just taking it for granted that you can speak so many things. But it's a gift to you. Why animals cannot speak like you? Why humans beings have been specifically endowed with such abilities? These kind of questions you must ask. And therefore it is saying this instrument, the mouth is like an instrument. And the revelation of that uh, transcendental sound Om, which you are chanting through um, this instrument, if it was an ordinary sound, it would not reveal you anything deeper. But it is said, this Omkar, from its Sarupa, the entire Veda is manifesting. How is it that? So the example is that as the transcendental sky, which is a Chidakas, not this sky, but here it means the conscious, in a simple way we can say consciousness, but maybe consciousness is also not exact meaning of that. So that Chidakas is eternal and its quality is Shabda. Just like this air has quality which is sound. Similarly, the transcendental space also has its quality which is Shabda, which is the sound form and which is eternal because that sky is eternal. So what is revealed in the Antaha Karana? Karana means instrument and Antaha means inner. Like this mouth is the external instrument, there's inner instrument in the heart. That means which is revealed in the heart. How that is being revealed? So there is some process. So that is called Antahakarana. So that inner instrument is this internal sphota. And the sphota that occurs there is called Shabda Brahma. The internal sphota is whole, not mechanical whole. Like it is not some, you are adding some parts, some fragments and making it a complete thing. But it is whole from its inception itself, from beginning itself. It is non-different from its expressing syllables, means abhinna tattva, having its eternal self form, having its sorupa, and also its meaning. From such a divine conception of the pranava, the whole of Veda descends. In this way, it comes down to the conception of great sages. So these great sages receive the message of the Vedas by the Shabda Brahma. As it is revealed within their inner instrument of the heart, the pranava is called antasphota, or it is therefore also called avyakta, or which cannot be conceived by material understanding. Next. So, we must therefore discuss what are the limits of these ordinary grammarians. The limitation of that is that grammarians do not always understand this point and refer to the external sphota only, that means external sound only as the cause of understanding the meaning of words. They imply that due to past impressions, there is association of meaning with the sounds. So Srila Jiva Goswami has rejected these ordinary conceptions about Sphotavada. Sphotavada has also been discussed with by Sripad Adi Sankaracharya and his followers like Bhamati, Anandagiri, Jayanta, etc. But the beauty of Sriman Mahaprabhu's explanation about Sphota in relation to Paramartha Vigyan is incomparable and has thrown new light. So for example, in Vedanga, there are some categories called Uddatta, Anudatta. They are the subject of discussion. But in Siksastaka of Mahaprabhu, we find not only the Vedanga, but the entire Veda has been embraced therein. So for example, Sankaracharya would say, we have 4 Mahavakyas. But Mahaprabhu says, you have to take the entire Veda, entire Vedanta Sutra into consideration. So, a Sphota is caused by this Paramatma, who is Brahma Sarupa, means the form of the absolute truth. And it expresses the supreme Brahman. Sphota expresses the Param Brahman by direct perception. When the conception of Sphota is developed, it expresses itself as Rudi. Is a technical term, which means organic whole of the transcendental sound form. So, maybe I am coming towards the end. To understand the teachings of Vedanta and the position of the holy name of Krishna, we have to take the conception of this type of idea, Vidvad Rudi, which brings out the Advaya Jnana Tattva, which are. Here it is means non-dual absolute truth. Like what means what in simple language we say, we see birds, objects, kites, human beings, animals, material objects, dead objects. But there must be a unified view of that. Then it is called Advaya Jnana, then it is complete conception. So we must aim for that, otherwise we cannot understand this. So here is not merely the significator of something, but it includes the conception of one who is expressing the significance. So Krishna does not mean merely the person whose name is Krishna, but the Krishna word and the Krishna as a person are identical. In this conception, therefore, the name of Krishna and the person who is Krishna are non-different. This has been expressed as bhajan or kirtani sadahari. In this conception, every word is Vishnu Vachaka. This does not mean that every word people are speaking is Vishnu Vachaka. But when it becomes Shabda, Tattva or Shabda Brahman, then every word expresses the meaning of Vishnu. If some great guru imparts such a sound to the ear of his disciple, and after realization of the divine knowledge, this dharma of Sphotas develops to the conception of Vidvad Rudi, and then this Rudi Vritti reveals Krishna's Sri Murti. The Archa Vigraha is revealed in that way. So when some other religion people say Hindus worship these Vigrahas or deities, idolatry they are doing. But no, because this we are not worshipping any idols. What we are worshipping is actually what is being revealed as Sri Murti. So this is not a material object. So therefore Sri Murti cannot be conceived without this. According to Bhagavad, we cannot know the truth by a mere academic approach through 6 systems of Indian philosophy. But if someone accepts the sentences of a self-realized devotee who is established in Sabda Brahman, then he can receive the truth in the same way. The Tat or the Absolute is not named by man or by many, but only by Shabda Brahman this truth is revealed. So I think that this has ended my slides, but let me in a very simple language say this, that in the Vedantic Parampara, what happens is there is a guru who is speaking some words. So therefore, what they are saying is recorded as speech. So, like our Shastra says, you must have faith on that, what the great sadhu is saying, because that is in the form of speech, it is necessary to understand what that speech is, which those great personalities are speaking. And from that, we have to understand from which source he is speaking those speech. So here, we have to invoke, it is coming from the Absolute. Tad Vijnanartham Sagurum Eva Vigachet. So this word Vijnana has been used. If it was just a Jnana, it would have been theoretical knowledge. But Vijnana means he has a realization of those things as a complete, the wholeness of this. And the whole truth is descending through that self-realized Acharya. So, unfortunately, modern epistemology has neglected this, the higher meaning of the word, of the testimony. Though testimony is a part of their epistemology, but it is an ordinary testimony. Like, for example, if Julius Caesar was a king or not, how do we know? So we rely on some books of history, and those history books are written by some historians, and so many historians are writing books for thousands of years. So because they are reliable, so we accept that what they are saying is truth. But the Shabda Brahma Vedanta is not like this. It is not part of the 3 modes of material nature. It is eternal. So when you connect with that through faith and Sharanagati, here the element is Sharanagati. You must have, because from, as we have already discussed, ordinary epistemology suffers from finiteness of the seeker. But the transcendental sound is not limited, or it is not from ordinary conception, but it is descending from the infinite or the unlimited conception. So when you have faith on that, means faith is again just like when the teacher is teaching somebody, the student says 1 plus 1 is 2, because teacher is saying that. He doesn't understand that. But teacher is saying 1 plus 1 is 2, so he says 1 plus 1 is 2, and he is actually correct. He gets full marks. Similarly, in our conditioned stage, we cannot understand immediately the entire thing. But if we develop faith on the system of acharyas, then we begin to repeat that. When the Vedas are repeated, then gradually it reveals its meaning within the heart. And if we express, the conclusion of that will be knowledge. This knowledge, we are not the knowers of any knowledge. The knower is the Supreme Lord Himself. And whatever is necessary, that knowledge is revealed in the heart. So when we accept the absolute, then our process becomes complete. And because modern people have denied that within this empiricism, or they want to drag of everything of scriptures within the empiricism, so our acharyas have condemned that approach. Don't try to drag the entire Bhagavata or Vedanta within your empiricistic systems. So as you believe only in empiricism, then they have given us some guidelines. First thing is that life comes from life. You never see that some material objects combine and form life. So this is an evidence. So have faith on that and do your studies based upon that axiom. The other thing is that matter also
We have
comes from
5 more
life.
minutes.
Huh?
5 more minutes.
Okay. So matter also comes from life. So now, therefore, if matter also comes from life and life also comes from life, then what is the original reality? Then it must be of the nature of life. So life can unify both matter as well as life itself. So if they can, scientists can understand this point and focus on the reality of life, then their knowledge systems can develop, and the scientists can become satisfied. My Guru Maharaj used to give many examples. He says that when the scientists are thinking deeply about some subject, and for some time after the struggle they cannot understand that, but suddenly some idea comes to them, and they seem to explain the entire concept through that idea. So he used to ask, what is the source of those inspiration that scientists gets? So for example, Kekule was thinking how we can have a compound like C6 and H6, and he could not understand how one having a valency of 4 carbon and hydrogen having valency of only 1 they can combine. Then in dream he saw some snakes are combining from head to tail, and then he understood, oh, I can use this formula. And further the idea of resonance came, and this was like he Kekule considered that it is not something which I have decoded, something I just felt. And he was telling another example of I think Poincare. Poincare was solving some difficult area of mathematics, and he could not solve that for a long time. Then he gave up his efforts, and he went for a walk. Then there was a bus coming from the opposite direction, and he put one foot on the bus, and in that moment when he was putting the foot on the bus, all the ideas appeared to him about those difficult problems of mathematics. So he says, it is not as if I am the author of this, or it is not coming from my rationality, but it seems that I am gifted with that. It's a higher grace. So there is room for that idea within even modern scientific, experiences or realizations. So with this, um, if the scientists can take it up, the Veda Pramana, and apply that within their, day-to-day experiences, material or scientific activities, and when they will get the results, then it will be scientific. That means my Guru Maharaj says, he gave me that idea that when scientists will take the Vedic conceptions and apply them into their daily activities, and when they get results, then that becomes scientific. Because science means an observation and producing a result based upon an understanding. So you are taking your understanding based upon only your own rational thought or based upon some other people's thought, then why not from the Vedic sources? And that will enrich, especially we don't know much about life, about consciousness, about why we die, why we are born. All these questions are open questions. So why not take? You have no idea. So why not take some Vedic, aphorisms and apply that, and your work can be successful. Thank you.
So, we have a wonderful presentation from Dr. Bhaktivijnana Muni. describing us the various methods that are available both in Vedanta and as well as in science. And also to some extent what are the limitations that are there on how to understand them and what are the areas where scientist has to adapt and then how to go further. In that process, he gave an example of a Kekule, how he wrote the structure of benzene. We have a similar analogy in chemistry. If you look at that, when you look at the periodic table, Mendeleev also have got a similar kind of idea of Sarigama Padani. And then he put that octet theory. And then in science, what happens is, like if somebody come out with an idea, and then that idea, we know that it is temporary because of some proofs that are there. So we can change that idea because the periodic table that is initially designed has undergone several changes with respect to the time modification and evidence that they are getting. And the final periodic table, we cannot say what is final now because in science there is nothing like final. It is an ever changing system. So on one hand, we have a ever changing system, continuously changing system one. And on the other hand, where we say that there is a never changing system. So it is Vedanta or whatever, some of the things like, which we cannot change. And we are now trying to bring together these two. And now, yeah, we are trying to bring these two systems together and compare and discuss. And he tried to put it in a different way. Now, my question is on this. So, how do you compare the never changing one with the everyday changing one? So, what is the kind of dialogue between these two? Because this continuously changing one can always adapt, never changing one day, or they may not adapt, or they keep changing. So, what is the debate and discussion between these two parts? Because one is on the eastern part, one is on the western part. So, how to bring these two together, these two poles?
This is not only there in the east, it is also in the west. This debate that, for example, Parmenides, he is an ever change static reality, fixed reality. But this, what is his name? I forgot the name. Another philosopher, Heraclitus. Heraclitus says you can never step on the same river twice. So, from his perspective, reality is always changing. Change is the only constant. Okay. So this is there not only here, that is there in West also. So, but we are focusing on the eternality of the reality, the eternal truth. It may be dynamic, but it's still eternal. The temporariness means which begins and ends, but which is the eternal dynamism. It never began and it will never come to an end. So there is no contradiction. It is only an epistemology that shows you the reality to be this way or that way. But when you surrender, Saranagati comes and you give up your own ego-based approach to understand the truth. And when you are gifted, then you may express something of the higher. That will be satisfying. And that path every thoughtful person has to take.
So, if there are any questions, session is open for discussion.
Let him speak. Let him speak. Yes, sir. You speak. No, according to Veda, there was a time everything was in a dissolved state. Earth is not part of the.
I think he's talking to life. Is the life existing everywhere or where it is? That's or where from it has come from. That's what.
According to Bhagavad Gita, life is sarvagata. It exists everywhere.
Yeah.
That is one understanding. But the thing is, what you are asking, life in the embodied form. So it has a certain process. But this consciousness is not the result of material interactions. There are so many theories, but the Vedic understanding is this. Yes, that is what I am saying. So the consciousness in this world that we observe is just a shadow of the real consciousness. The Gita says Urdhva Mula Ashwattham means it is an inverted tree. So this is a just like the real planet is there and sun is there, and when the light falls on the planet, its shadow falls on a something on its back. So our Shastra is saying this the material world, it exists on the back side of the Lord. The Maya Shakti is in the back of the Lord. Paschat Bhag means it is the inferior energy, and it is formed as a shadow of the original reality. So you have to study the original reality, then you can understand these questions. So life is not a result of sum total of material combinations. That that is there in Achidvad. Achidvad is the atheist Kapila who proposed that. But Sankaracharya has not accepted that. His philosophy is Chidvad. Okay, Chidvad means it's coming from the Chit or consciousness. Okay, and there is also further, you know,
యా ఐ విల్ కెన్ ఐ గివ్ హిమ్ దెన్ మీకంటే తెలుగులో చెప్పమంటారా? ఇప్పుడు మీరు అడిగేది ఏంటంటే చిదాకాశానికి ఆకాశానికి సంబంధం ఏంటి అని అడుగుతున్నారు. ఎలా గుర్తించాలి, మీలో చిదాకాశాన్ని ఎలా గుర్తించాలి అంటే, ఇది గుర్తించడానికి మీకు వేరే స్టాండర్డ్ ఏం అవసరం లే. ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఇక్కడ నుంచున్నారు, నేను ఇక్కడ కూర్చున్నా, ఇక్కడ ఈ నేను ఉన్నాను అని రుజువు చేయడానికి నేను ఆయన అడగాల, మిమ్మల్ని అడగాల? నేను ఉన్నానని నాకు నేను ఉన్నానని తెలుసుకోవడానికి ఎవరినైనా అడగాల నేను? అక్కర్లే కదా. ఇది స్వయం ప్రకాశమైనటువంటిది. ఇప్పుడు ఈ చిద్దం అనేటువంటి చెప్పేటువంటి ఏంటంటే ఈ స్వయం ప్రకాశ శక్తి కలిగి ఉన్నటువంటి విషయం. కాబట్టి మీరు ఇక్కడ ఉన్నారు అని చెప్పడానికి నేను రుజువు చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు, పక్కవాడు రుజువు చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. ఇది స్వయం ప్రకాశ శక్తి కలిగినటువంటి ఆత్మ, జీవాత్మ.
It is not under Prakriti.
It's not Prakriti. No, not Prakriti. He is asking self. How do you decide whether I am here or not? Who will test? Do you have to prove that I am here? Not required. It is ఆగండి వస్తున్నా. అది ఒక ఉదాహరణ కోసం అని చెప్పారు. ఈ చిదాకాశం అన్న ఏం చెప్పారంటే, ఇప్పుడు చిన్న కొండ ఎదురుగుండా పెట్టాము, నేను చెప్పాను ఎగ్జాంపుల్. నో హీ వాంట్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ ఓన్లీ ఇన్ తెలుగు, సో హీ ఇస్ నాట్. You can translate it? Okay. What he is asking is this.
I understood, sir.
Go ahead.
This is not a material sky. This is not this sky. Understand? Sky means Akash means a space. This is the space of transcendental reality. Chidakash. So it is above Prakriti. And it is para Prakriti. Not this Prakriti. Okay? This is the what we say Swarup Shakti. Self form of the Lord, His potency. That's Chid Vastu. This is Achid Vastu, material objects here. Even the sky is material object. Chid, Achid, but that is Chid. So it is a different thing. Not mind. No. Mind is which connects your inner self with the external. But the mind is that function, but consciousness is above that. Therefore, in our Vedic things, the mind, Krishna has said, mind is material. The bhumi, rapo, anala, kham, mano, vayur. You know, this mind is also there as material. Bhinna prakriti, separated energy. Aparemita stvanyam. But beyond that, above that, the final shakti is this jiva bhuta, sanatanam, eternal. And because of that, this world is appearing to be what it is. They are holding this world together. If there was no jivas, this world will not exist by itself. This is
okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Maybe quality. We are now running short
quality
of
means,
time. No. Just excuse me.
Eternal, full of knowledge and full of happiness.
Yeah. Yes. So what we will do, we'll continue the discussion because this is a long discussion. Since we are time is running out, let us go for the next speaker. According to this, the next speaker is Professor Balram Singh. Is he coming or we have to? So he's online, so we have to connect Professor Balram Singh. So just to connect him. So Professor Balram Singh is a professor in biophysical chemistry, UMass Dartmouth, and from 1990 to 2015, and he is the founder of Institute of Advanced Sciences, North Dartmouth, and he will be speaking to us on the sorry, on the role of sensory chemistry in acquiring the knowledge of reality. So this is a subject that he is going to discuss with us. So let us wait. This will be an online one. So we'll be talking to him through the webinar.
Professor Balram Singh, can you hear us? The sound is not coming. You have to unmute your sound. You ask your, this thing, person to come. Yeah, you have to ask your, expert. You have to, what you can say, make your, thing, which is muted, I think. Can you, someone? No sound is coming. You just call your, why he's going in the time of conference here, there. ఇక్కడ ఉండండి బ్రో ఇప్పుడు ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది ఇక్కడ ఉండదు ఎస్ వాళ్ళు కూడా ఇన్వెస్ట్ వాళ్ళ సౌండ్ ఇక్కడ రావడం లేదు ప్రొఫెసర్ బలరామ్ సింగ్ జీ క్యాన్ యూ హియర్ అస్ 1 minute setting the sound no sound is coming from there. Now can you speak? Somebody can speak from the Zoom?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, now sound is coming. Now sound is coming. Professor Balram Singh ji, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Thank you. You can start.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed Dr. Muni's talk, and I think it was more like two logs rather than dialogue. He was presenting his side of the things, but I think here it is a discussion is dialogue between Vedanta and science, and I hope that I will make some points from. Now I got in trouble. I have to get my slides working. All right.
Share your screen. You have to share your screen.
Yeah, I was doing it. You messed it up. Dr. Santa can take care of everything.
Can you check? There is a share button below. Yeah, it's coming now.
It's just not moving. Then
You can press the down key, then it should move.
No, I have to reset it.
Okay.
Okay, resetting it. All right. right, so it should be working now.
Yeah. You can make it
There we go.
full screen. Yeah.
So here is some guy who is a Nobel Prize winner and very famous in quantum mechanics. He thought that multiplicity is only apparent. In truth, there is only one mind. If we want to call mind, or we want to call it, if we want to call it consciousness, that's fine too. Now, this year's Nobel Prize in physics was given to quantum
Recording
tunneling.
stopped.
Quantum
Recording in
tunneling
progress.
effect, where things move so fast that physics, typical physics, thermodynamics, energy cannot explain. And that is because these, when it was initially thought about, were applicable to very small particles like electrons or atoms. But now what they have found, that quantum tunneling is, I'm referring to this because this can make the mind understood from physics point of view, how mind works so fast because it can tunnel through. This is my view, is in part because in Mahabharata, Yaksh asked Yudhishthir, what is faster than wind? And he said, mind. So I'm very impressed with his Yudhishthir's reply, and I think mind is so fast, it is faster than light, speed of light. And the speed of light can be blocked by walls, but mind can never be blocked by anything. So mind is a good tool to understand the reality, and it can follow the rules of quantum tunneling, or what I like to call it mantam tunneling, because there's mind tunneling, and we can understand this. And interestingly, even though this was discovered for only tiny particles like electrons or photons, but now these researchers, scientists who got Nobel Prize, because they can apply it to bigger things like wire, the superconductivity also follows this. So I think Dr. Muni's idea of how you make your mind or yourself ready to accept or learn some knowledge really determines what you can learn, how you can learn. It's not exactly the physical, but we are physical, so we have to connect that physical to the physical description. So in quantum mechanics, Schrodinger, the very famous guy, this I just showed his view, and I'm showing him not because of physics. Actually, he has talked about Vedanta also. So he wrote this. He got this equation, H psi is equal to E psi, where you do some operations of Hamiltonian to get energy, and that predicts certain things to happen. And this I'm just showing to impress that I know a little bit about these things, but I wouldn't be talking too much, except to say that when certain particles occupy certain areas, you can express them by these wave functions. And energy can be expressed in terms of the height, and this can be expressed in terms of these wave functions. So you can find certain things, whether that's a mind, information, or electrons or photons. So that's the only thing I want to talk about it here, because this quantum tunneling is giving a lot of ideas how this might be working. And in my opinion, based on Yaksha's question and Yudhishthir's answer, mind mechanics can be much faster, much more elaborate. And so that is how it may be connected. Now, what they have found is this tunneling, if you increase the energy level, the tunneling goes faster. So because you have much less barrier. So you have to be in heightened state of mind if you want to do this. Now, the idea that you can get information from nothing. Because, Dr. Muni was talking about how you do not have to have material thing to get an idea or to understand. You do not need to believe in murti or idol or something. That's just to get your state of mind to that level. So here is a concept which is in case of in India, it's of course discovered. Zero was discovered there, but the zero is the origin of everything. Physically speaking or mathematically speaking, zero is nothing, but then that's the origin. Mathematically, origin of universe is zero. Economically, origin of whole economics is also zero because you have either loss or gain. So conceptually, zero is very important, or nothing is very important. Now, that's called sunya in here. The dot symbol and its subsequent form of the open circle indicates not only nothingness, as we know the meaning of the sunya, but it symbolizes infinity also. How? As well, because the symbol is there is no beginning or no end. So that's infinity. Mathematically also sunya represents the whole, as it can not be divided by anything. Quantum reality, the consciousness is the most expanded and extensive form, encompasses all, recognizing nothing separate, and thus simply is just being. It may in fact be opposite of the concept of the quantum, which primarily separates even the energy into pockets or quanta. So this consciousness is really a continuum, but we can still, because the mind is something that separates, so the consciousness and mind are two different, and I think Dr. Muni also said that. What if that is not the feature of the physical world, rather a feature of the degenerated consciousness? If mind were the quantized consciousness, then the physical reality is just a reflection of that perception. Schrodinger has alluded to this in his book called What is Life? The creation of genetic material. So it's the consciousness that is creating this world, whether perceptually or even physically. That's the idea of some of the physicists who are thinking about it. So he says, he wrote a book called What is Life? Said the many conscious egos from whose mental experiences the one world is concocted. There is obviously only one alternative, namely the unification of minds or consciousness. Their multiplicity is only apparent. In truth, there is only one mind. And this is the doctrine of Upanishads. So this is what I was saying. He was very much familiar with Vedantic principles. He's another guy who got inspired by Schrodinger, Francis Crick, who also got Nobel Prize for his DNA structure, and he believed everything physically can be explained. I'm not going to read all of it, but he just basically his idea was that cell structure, tissue structure can explain everything. But he could not, he also was affected by Indian ideas, especially about Hindu ideas. And he talks about most of the religious beliefs we have today originated in time when the earth, while a small place by our standard, was then thought to be being very large, even thought its exact extent was unknown. It was only impossible to believe the earth was less than 10,000 years old. The stars seemed far away, fixed perhaps in the spherical firmament. I mean, the Bible says the world started in 4004 BC. So you can imagine that. But then he said the exception has to be made here for certain Eastern religions such as Hinduism that take pleasure in inflating times and distances for the sheer joy of it. Of course, he is making fun of it. But the point is he's acknowledging that at least Hindus have some concepts of time which is actually closer to the reality now that we know. Now they have done, this kind of thinking about God and how the God makes you whatever you are. and however you think. And Dr. Muni was saying that, it's really all the things are coming from there. And so they did experiments. Neurobiologists did some experiment in the United States, and they started estimating God's belief more egocentric than estimates. They had asked some moral questions, and they didn't ask them to answer the questions. They just asked them to tell whether what they think, and then they had electrodes, and then could find out whether they think to be different or same. So they asked, what do you think are the certain moral values, and what a typical American thinks? And you can just see here these two spots, which means they thought they're different. When they said that what God thinks of moral questions and what a typical American thinks, is even bigger difference. But when they ask what you think of some moral values and what God thinks, no difference. So this reminds you something, perhaps, the projection of self when he says Aham Brahmasmi. I agree with everything Dr. Muni was saying, except that there is no control. Anybody can say anything they want to do. So there is no quality control in Vedanta or Vedantic view, if we are putting Vedantic view. In science, there is a test. If you say something, I can do the experiment and I can question it. I think that's one of the very important difference for this kind of dialogues. So Schrodinger, again, he said Atman is equal to Brahman. The personal self equals the omnipresent. He said that as a physicist. And I don't have time to go into details, but I can both quantum or thermodynamics. The assumptions have been made from infinity to infinity. So there is no question that physics considers Atman is equal to Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi is very well practiced. May not be practiced as well as Vedantic people know, but scientists, at least, they have to accept that. Now, there was another scientist, Albert Einstein, and I'm not going to read the whole thing here because just to save time, but he said that religiousness, the feeling of this mysticism means something that you cannot explain. The feeling is at the center of true religiousness. The people, it's not like you have to kind of explain everything, because it's not possible, at least he accepted. I find it very difficult to mystically accept. Religion had bad history, so I don't want to believe. I mean, maybe he used the wrong word, religiousness. He maybe meant to say spirituality, or maybe just philosophy. There is nothing that cannot be approached scientifically. So I maybe differ with Dr. Muni here. Everything can be approached scientifically. If one is willing to develop appropriate science, there is a great need to work interdisciplinarily: philosophy, linguistics, language, physics, chemistry, biology, Vedanta, the Vaisesika, all kind of things can be combined. But of course, this is said by Albert Einstein, and everybody knows who listened to me. So I try to copy him, grow my mustache and hair and other things. See, maybe people might take me seriously. But what has two particular features that define science is time and concentration, or time and space, actually. Concentration is just the space. And this is the philosophy of Vaisesika, where the Panchabhutas are there, but then there is a time and space. It's a very important part of the Dravya. And then also the mind and self. So this gives the integration. This is all integrated together. This is the philosophy that integrates everything. So I think we should be able to approach. That's why I think the science can approach these Vedantic knowledge. We tested this. I worked with botulinum neurotoxin, which is also known as Botox. If you use tiny amount of it, give more space, 100 picogram versus 100 nanogram, 1,000 times difference. If you take 100 picogram, you look nice. This is Hillary Clinton. People thought that she uses Botox. and or if you use 1,000 times more, then you go to hospital. This is true principle for almost any material. Some teacher in Orissa ate half kg of salt and he died at the end of the day. So you use 10 grams of salt, or 5 to 10 grams of salt is something we all need. But if you use 500, then he died. This is also true for space. If you just look at the space, office on the left, which is one guy sitting there very nicely, and then you have crowded on the right. And if you think about 1,000-fold difference, then people will be killing each other. So anyway, this is the principle of Vaisesika philosophy, where space is important. The next one is time. We need to think of time as an important aspect. And physics clearly relates time dilation in terms of the speed of object relative to the speed of light. But mental time dilation is also experienced by us. It is bidirectional relative to physical time. It can go back and forth. So this gives the more of the infinity idea here. How can we relate mental time to level of consciousness? In Vedas, when there is a Big Bang singularity, state before which everything was pure existence and pure consciousness, anidu avatam, without vibration, no nothing, no move, no nothing. The Veda says in Vasadiya Suktam, there was neither non-existent nor existent. That one thing breathless, breathed by its own nature. That's what they talk about before anything appeared in this world. This is Veda, and its explanation then existed without vibration. Prana, the primal energy, existed then, but there was no motion in it. Then when the kalpa begins, or the time begins, then it starts to vibrate, blow by blow. Prana to akasa, and atoms become condensed, and as they are condensed, different elements are formed, or the material world appears. So it is within the Vedic knowledge, it says how this thing happens. So I think it is not right to say that we cannot approach Vedic knowledge by matter. And here actually is from Akasa to Vayu to Agni to Jal to Prithvi, and Akasa is the dhvani or vibration. And from vibration, so it comes to Vayu, first atom, hydrogen. Hydrogen atom still gives the energy from sun. Sun, there is a lot of fusion. And from there, you have the earth was just like a ball of fire, and that then we got Jal, and then we got Prithvi. So it's kind of known. I think Vedic knowledge can explain. I think science needs to be improved, that I agree, but I think scientific idea is still possible to address these issues. Now, how do we approach all this with mind? Well, I taught a course called Chemistry of the Mind for 15 years in the University of Massachusetts, different aspects of it. Some of my interest and knowledge really came during that time. Scholarship to bridge consciousness physico-chemically. Vaisesika school of thought, I just explained a little bit. On measurement of consciousness, I would like to explain later, soon. And the advancement of scientific concept now, ANN or AI, is the artificial neural network, or artificial the AI that we know, intelligence. We call it intelligence. Fortunately, I have had some experience on both of these, my students actually, in developing. So I have some idea that, how these things, abstract terms, can be made into some meanings. One experiment that was done, published in 2006 in Science, that people, when they buy a car, and they're only looking at 4 aspects of it, color maybe, the size maybe, the seat maybe, then they are conscious. But the moment that it becomes, let's say in 12 items here, and you can see the unconscious, or para, as Dr. Muni was talking about, the para vidya takes over. You just, or you might call it gut feeling. So that means, when things are really combined together, then they become, you might call them consciousness, but it is beyond consciousness. The consciousness takes over, though you are not even aware of it. And so the experiment has been done. This kind of things can be done. And so I used this whole idea of vibrations and time to create a model. So assuming the consciousness to be represented by space and time, a signal in space will increase the frequency with decrease in time and all that. You can just basically the vibrations I created, which gives more space and time, and you can be measured. One assumption actually was my son, who was in high school at that one time, when he had to hear about a seminar or whole day conference I had organized on science and spirituality, and he gave me this idea. The Brahma's one day is like how many days of us. And he said that when you have the knowledge, when you are completely knowledgeable, then your circle is going to be very small. It is the center. And then you don't need to move physically that far compared to ignorant people like us who are far away from the center. And again, the center is the idea of zero. When you know zero, means you know the infinity also, then you don't need to go that far in this. And I use some of this vibrational ideas about the consciousness and some mathematics here. I wouldn't go into details unless somebody has questions. I use ideal gas, theory of ideal gas, kinetics, and some other assumptions I made. Eventually, I calculated something called consciousness coefficient. And I even made some assumptions of, how much of your brain is, how long you will live, and how far the speed might be. All that thing can be added. Most of the science makes this kind of assumptions, which may not be correct, but they are useful. So I calculated consciousness coefficient of 5.05 times 10 to the power 17. And this is for unevolved human being. So somebody is evolved like Vedas and Vedantas, has really high level of understanding, then my assumption is the consciousness coefficient will be zero. And so everything will become zero. That means you're completely aware of everything. So C will reduce with evolution. And it's just like, if y is equal to 5x, the 5 is the constant. And if y and x become same, then constant becomes zero. Einstein had this idea of time, and this was published in Scientific American, so I'm not making joke of it. And he had published in Journal of Exothermic Science and Technology in 1938. When a man sits with a pretty girl for an hour, it seems like a minute. But let him sit on a hot stove for a minute, and it's longer than any hour. He actually did this experiment, and he was trying to explain theory of relativity about time. Now, how do we know this world? I'm assuming I have another. Dr. Sumangla, if you can tell me the time, I have what, 5-10 minutes? Or I have 15 minutes?
No, you have another 5 minutes.
Another 5 minutes, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So, how do we know this world? Chemistry is life, as people say. I'm a chemist, so I try to make it very important. Chemistry of life. So it has structures, and today's drug designs and everything comes based on the structure. But in Ayurveda, which is a derivation of the Vedic knowledge, it's a functional. You sense things, you smell, you taste, and you make the drugs based on that. So I thought this is a functional chemistry in Ayurveda, but later on I understood it's really sensory chemistry, because you have the senses, you have Gyanendriyas. And more recently, the senses, how do they get to work? Something called Tanmatra. Tanmatra is the force behind that. And this may take us to the Vedantic knowledge. Where you can have the tanmatra force in you based on your karma, based on your sanskaras or whatever, based on your guru kripa, you can have the tanmatra force and then you can understand the world. So, a very simple connection I'm trying to make there. How the noble things or ideal things work versus how this tanmatra chemistry forces to sensory chemistry to functional chemistry that we all like or see. There is a concept of ideal or noble gas: helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, and radon. And they are ideal because the scientific definition of their noble electronic structure, in which their outside, except for helium, there are 8 electrons. So this world is moving towards that idealness. Journey of every element is to reach that maximum stability through noble electronic configuration. That means they want to get to 8 in the outermost cell. And here is an example of sodium chloride, where sodium gives up 1 electron to chlorine, and so that both of them make 8 in their outer cells. The sodium has 8 and chloride has 8. And this is a noble configuration. So this is very important. I think nobility is very, very important. Ideality is very, very important. Non-reactivity is very, very important. And what is that? The duality versus non-duality. When chemically speaking, duality is the cause of the world. When there is a charge difference, they want to become ideal, and for getting that ideal, they join hands. So this whole world, this Brahm or Brahmand, is made by that way. Just going to very quickly talk about a little bit of Tanmatra chemistry, how the Tanmatra chemistry works. Actually, I'm teaching this course in JNU. Chemistry is known as Rasayan Shastra. That means you have to talk about the rasas. And you have Madhur rasas, Amla rasas. This is some documents submitted by one of my students, Husi Tripathi, and I'm using that as an example. They have guna, virya, vipaka, all that for this. But what is the tanmatra driving it? It's, there is so many chemical reaction, but who drives it? There are different neurotransmitters and everything that goes to the brain, and eventually we taste certain things. But the driving force to all of this is tanmatra. That tanmatra that I'm talking about, the force. But again, I'm not going into details, but when my students are on a project, hopefully there will be a new Upanishad coming out of this course where we will be talking about tanmatra. And here, when something is sweet or bitter or whatever, they produce certain chemicals, and those they go to the taste nerves, and these nerves eventually get to the brain, and the brain interprets them. So when we are talking about we eat, like, let's say, guava or mango or pineapple or something like that, and it helps you fix your body, it is not fixing your body just for the taste of it. It is going through the whole, your body goes through the whole kind of reaction, and that is all forced by tanmatra. Just like energy forces everything that in physics people take, tanmatra is a very different kind of force that we are trying to work it out and make it more accessible to scientists. For example, here, if you take fructose, it goes through the whole process in your cell, and eventually it releases manganese or some bile, and that is the one which really causes, then you feel like, oh, I'm tasting this, I'm doing this. So this is very integrative pathway of tanmatra chemistry that helps doing some of these things. Tanmatra is the source of all these panchabhutas. It is source that comes from manas, ahamkara, which it really means existence, and as a part of the philosophy, Sankhya philosophy. The last point I want to say in a minute or two, this kind of idea has been now going back to some of these philosophical things. One of them is to check out the brain gene expression. And what you really see here without going into details of the experiments, is that every 20 years, see here the first 20 years, second 20 years, third 20 years, and fourth 20 years, you can see in every one of these there is some kind of crossover. So they give you an idea, in my opinion, of what we in Indian philosophy, Vedantic philosophy, Vedic philosophy, we talk about brahmacharya, grihast, banprasth, and sannyas. So even though this is coming out of brain, but the brain ideas come from the tanmatra, so that means tanmatra is the one which is causing all this, and that we can explain all those. I mean, this is just trying to talk about certain pathways in the brain. So finally, what I like to say is that fundamental knowledge comes from the meditation and focusing. But then that fundamental knowledge can be translated into science, whether it's Ayurveda or other modern science, and then you can have material manifestation. So I don't think we should run away from material manifestation. It can go back and explain what we see and what we can observe. So finally, I want to quote Albert Einstein again, that he says materialism is the basis of science. Albert Einstein said the belief in an external world independent of human mind is the most common thing scientists agree. But science in the making is as subjectivity constituted as any other branch of human endeavor. Basically, it means it's the mind, the consciousness, the atma at the level of spirituality, what causes, if that is involved in making the science, then the science will be much stronger. And we can utilize and have this dialogue between science and Vedanta. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It's my
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for such interesting analysis.
so it's my pleasant duty to introduce him, because this we have to do in the beginning, but due to our connections and other problems, we could not do that and directly went into the talk. Before we go to the questions sessions, I would like to introduce Professor Balram Singh. Has been a professor since 1990 at UMass Dartmouth at the Institute of Advanced Sciences, conducting research in botulinum and tetanus neurotoxins, vaccines, antidotes, drug delivery, and also on yoga and mind and consciousness. Along with this, Ayurvedic biotechnology, he has published 15 books and over 375 articles and 15 patents. Latest books being a different take, NRA view of India in the tradition of Ram, Kishan and Gandhi, and practical techniques in molecular biotechnology, Cambridge 2021 he published that, and Madhushala is another book, Dol Jnanavar Shudra Pashu Nari, India Press USA, these are all books probably, and Kimori Corona Herho. Dr. Singh is editor and associate editor of 4 journals, including Biochemical, Biophysical Research Reports, Ayurveda Journal of Health, and International Journal of Indian Culture and Business and Management. He is the editor-in-chief of Vedic Waves, an online blog of the World Association of Vedic Studies, and general editor to Ayurveda Health and Happiness and Harmony Book Sciences. And there are several credentials to the credit of Dr. Balram Singh ji, and it is fortunate that we have the opportunity to hear his talk. His multidisciplinary knowledge that he has, both in Ayurveda, yoga and modern science, is the right person for presenting the subject that we have been dealing with. Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful talk that we have. And before we go for the questions, I have a small query, sir. This is regarding, you are trying to quantify the consciousness on a scale from 0 to some number that you have given. how did you arrive at that? And what is the, because of course you have given a equation. What is the logic that, and can we give such kind of equation even for life also, because life and consciousness are both together. So can we give such a numbers to life, because life also brain dead, heart failure. So likewise there are several ways of telling dead, whether somebody is dead or alive. So can we have such kind of equation for this also?
Yes, I think so. Well, first of all, I created that equation so that we can have dialogues. Otherwise, it's like we're just talking in the air.
Yeah, right.
So when I put that, I made some assumptions. I made assumptions like I mean, I use the ideal gas equation and its kinetics because I said idealized is very important. I mean, I can talk about why ideal is important because non-reactive. The reason it is called ideal or noble is because it's non-reactive, which is what I think you would expect people who are like in this organization, that Dr. Santa, Dr. Muni, all that are playing. That you want to be non-reactive. So that means there is a some in the modern sciences also there is this concept of non-reactivity. So I use that equation to derive that constant. But the constant works like I said, y is equal to 5x. 5 is a constant. 5 can be 0 if x and y are the same, which basically means that if you are very highly evolved, you are already high evolved person, then it will not be, there will not be any coefficient needed. And that can be done, experiment can be done. And we have not done that experiment. I think if we were able to do this experiment, for example, in Kumbh Mela, I have seen, so people put in fire around them and they sit in the middle and they can tolerate it. Whereas other people will be immediately running away from there. So that means that might be a one measure of how much evolved you are if you can take troubles, tapa. So I think some of that experiment needs to be done, but I think if we have a dialogue, Vedanta and science as dialogue, I think we can improve science. I don't mean that science is needed for Vedanta, but I think science needs Vedanta. And if we use that, some of these concepts we can bring, that will be a contribution of Vedic knowledge.
Dr. Balram Singh.
That will help the Western world quite a bit.
Dr. Balram Singh, this is Dr. Santa speaking. So thank you very much for giving this, the time, and I think it is a little late. Still, you could able to make it. So we are very happy. Hopefully, one day we can have it at your institute in US. This event, dialogue between Vedanta and science. In some time we can plan. So I want to ask you about your that idea which you always say that there is no like a sameness in two electron or two chemical, which science don't really emphasize. So are you doing anything in that direction to get it come to the mainstream? Because what they are believing is uniformitarianism is the only basis where they can practice the science. Otherwise they have to do science for each every individual and every particle or every molecule, like that. Because science is now in biology specifically, it is on based on population, not individual based in idea or theory. So what do you have to say about this issue?
Sure, sure. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for remembering something that I did not say today, but I did talk about these things in the past. What I like to say, I made just an argument just a couple of days ago that everybody, all of us, have our genetics. Even Dr. Sumangala and my genes are 99.9% the same. But she looks so different than I do. That just shows that how this is true for electron, this is true for protein, this is true for everything. That no two things are the same. That means there is another force that is determining what you and I and everybody is. We can, for human beings, we can say we have certain karmas, we have certain sanskaras, that how we have come. But the point is that nobody, you yourself cannot reproduce yourself. Even if you have children, they don't look exactly like you. They don't exactly talk like you. So that is the definition of Brahm or Brahman. So everybody is different, and I think Dr. Santa, you're right. I think if we can create, I have not created anything other than giving some examples like what I'm telling you. But I think I'm very much interested in creating, from Ayurvedic perspective, the treating everybody unique, and then taking care of them that way rather than assuming everybody to be the same and taking an average. So I do want to. I'm focusing on it. I hope I can get. I can. One of my interest has been, because I was introduced to have few patents. Maybe I have added some more now. We have like 20, 25, and some of them are commercialized also. But I cannot. It takes so much money to do clinical trial. And so I want to question that clinical trial idea that you have to have thousands or 2,000 or 10,000 people, and based on that they just come up with a recommendation. Even then, you have a medicine for one thing, and there are 13 or 14 side effects because everybody is different. So yeah, I'm creating some efforts in that area, and hopefully I will be able to influence some people. But I think the idea of every molecule being different is absolutely proven. There is no question about it.
Yeah, I think it's good evening for you. So, good evening, Professor. My name is Dr.
It's a
Sandeep
good
Mishra.
early morning now. Here is 1:30 a.m.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, I'm Professor Dr. Sandeep Mishra. I'm Director Professor of Cardiology at AIMS New Delhi. So, AIMS is a important, teaching university, medical university in India, if you might not know. So,
No, no, I know very well. I know.
okay. So, my
I was in
question to you
JNU,
is,
so I know. I mean, there was one of my immunology teacher was coming from AIMS.
okay, all right. So I work. I mean, I am now retired. So I was director professor of cardiology there. So my question to you is, sir, that so far as Vedanta is concerned, the consciousness is the sakshi. So that is the ultimate subject. All other objects reduce to this particular consciousness, and therefore so far as I mean, I have very limited understanding, you are far more evolved, but according to Vedanta, this is something which cannot be measured. Consciousness being the ultimate subject or sakshi, it can never be measured. So I mean, maybe the quantity you have given is kind of something pre-consciousness or something like that. I really don't know, or you have just thrown it so that others can talk about it and discuss it. And, I don't know what is the exact thing, but my limited understanding, consciousness is Sakshi, which is the ultimate subject and it cannot be measured.
Yeah, I think what you are referring to is consciousness being more like Atma. Atma is normally what is Sakshi. Consciousness is like you have Panch Gyanendriya, Panch Karmendriya, Panch Tanmatra, Panch Bhut. Then you have Man, you have Buddhi, you have Chit, which is consciousness. You have Ahankar, existence, where he doesn't know who that is. And then there is a Mahat Bhav that relates it to Atma. So Atma is, I think, what you are talking about, but I understand the point you are trying to make is I'm not measuring that. Even consciousness, I'm really not measuring. I just made some assumptions so that people can test and they can compare. So that people can, many times we do relative things, even whether it's in cardiology, you have some blood pressure, you have certain amount of valves or blood components, and then you, based on that, you tell, well, whether somebody is going to be having trouble or not trouble. So it's something like that. What I try to do is so that it can measure, and it can even prove, like I said, those people who will have much less coefficient because they will be able to take trouble. And in this case, I have used temperature and time as a covariance. So if I put somebody in heat, and that if that person can tolerate it, I can find a reason to say that this person is evolved. So to introduce science into this idea. That's why I have done.
Early morning, sir, or good Brahma Muhurat, and it's a real privilege to hear you. Sir, this is there any contradiction between Shunya and infinity? And are there any polemics like we are saying it symbolizes zero? So where is the beginning and where is the end? So is there any contradiction there? And another point is this coefficient which you have, that's good. It gives a rise to this dialogue. But is there any like y and x? Can you explain it a little more?
Yeah, sure. I can. So your first question was, what was it? I'm sorry.
Shunya, is there any contradiction?
Shunya, yes, yes.
When we are saying
Yes, so-
Shunya and then infinity.
Yeah. Yeah, so Sunya is, of course, I just made a point that, there is no beginning, no end, so it's kind of infinite. But the reality is that Sunya, if you have plus and minus, let's say -1 plus 1, when you add them, this becomes 0. So you can go to infinity on both sides, and it will eventually, as long as you have plus minus and you add them, they become 0. So they give you that sense. I hope that is okay, and that's what I try to say in this. So everything, I also try to make that point that Brahma is like Brahma's one day, means because he's at the center, he's like a 0 point. And because that when you know everything, good and bad, then only you can understand. Because even though we are talking about, why am I doing this measurement coefficients and all that, maybe I will be wrong. I want to see that I am wrong, and then I will learn better. Since you have been professor of cardiology in AIMS, maybe you have had some students. Those of us who have had privilege of having students who make mistakes, we learn from their mistakes. I have my major contribution in science is because a student made a mistake. So mistake is not is a problem in my opinion, as long as we are willing to learn. So I think if I'm making mistake in the coefficient, consensus coefficient, then I'm open to learn. If I cannot either prove it, or if I prove it and say no, we need to learn more than that, well, either way it's helpful to us. So but the basic idea that I have in there is that there is a ideal gas kinetics in which there is a reduced velocity on one side and temperature on the other side. So in velocity I find time, and in the temperature on the other side it's like PV is equal to nRT, the temperature on the other side. So I have in that equation I can have time connected to temperature. So, and then I can do that experiment, and that's why I try to do. Actually, I had a student, believe it or not, who used 2 other ways to connect. I used to ask this question to my students in the chemistry of the mind class, and this only 2 students in my whole 15 years of teaching, they got this answer correct. And one of the students actually gave me 2 other equations how to add that, how to connect between time and temperature. So the whole idea is the time and temperature that I can measure for human beings or any other organism to make this connection, and hopefully we'll learn something more.
So if there are no more questions, let us thank Professor Balram Singh for the wonderful talk and the interaction that we have. And so let us move to the next speaker, Devi Prasad
Thank you so
Mishra.
much. I really enjoyed.
Thank you, sir. So we'll be moving to the next speaker, Devi Prasad Mishra. This is an online talk. Devi Prasad Mishra. Okay, but you have given.
the participants? Are they visible to you now? Professor Balram Singh,
Yes, yes.
can you see the participants now?
Yes, yes. I can. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So it is all there on the live website. You can see all whole program.
Absolutely. It's on the YouTube also, right?
So the next speaker we have Dr. Sandeep Mishra, is a chairman of Cardiac Sciences, Ujjwala Cygnus Group of Hospitals, Moradabad, UP, India, and former direct professor of cardiology and officer in charge of the Cath Labs, AIMS, New Delhi. So let us welcome Dr. Sandeep Mishra ji, and sir, the time starts.
The time starts when my presentation starts. So waiting for the presentation. So good morning, everybody. Or I think I should, and to people who are connected from outside. Okay. No, this is not. This is not. To people who have connected from outside, whatever time it may be. So I think I'm having a very good meeting, a very good conference, and definitely a lot of things to learn. And with people like Dr. Balram Singh, there is always a lot of learning for everybody, and not only in science but in meta science as well. So what today I'm going to talk about is, I have to first of all admit that I have very limited understanding. Uh, I have some bit of understanding of science, but little less of metaphysics. But still, whatever I have understood, I will try to share with you. And let us see. And I hope to learn a lot from you all, sharing my experience. So this is just as a template for the discussion. So please don't think that I'm a big expert on anything like that. Can you move forward? So what I'm going to talk today? No, go back. Slide चली गई. Slide नहीं आ रही. So what I'm going to talk about is, I will talk about two things. First of all, how the journey of knowledge moves through in the Vedantic discipline, and I will like to compare it with concepts in quantum physics. So I will try to compare how the knowledge in Vedanta looks like versus what it looks like in not classical but quantum physics, and I think Dr. Balram already alluded to it a lot. And then I will move on to what is this journey of knowledge to self-consciousness or to achievement of in different disciplines. So I will talk about 6 disciplines, and in each of these disciplines how to achieve moksha or nirvana, or the Sufis call it fana. So how these disciplines approach the evolution of knowledge in a human being, a human being who's been born on earth, how these different disciplines track down his evolution of knowledge to the stage of non-duality. So most of the disciplines talk about non-duality, and I will little bit talk about that. So first of all, can we remove this, whatever this bar if possible? So I think there are 5 stages of how the knowledge is gained or understood in the Vedantic concept. And as I was already discussing, so there is like a known and the knower. So there is something to be known. Whatever is to be known is the object. And then there is ultimately a knower who's not an object. So the known moves through whatever is known only because there is a knower. If there is no knower or no person whom we can call Sakshi for better understanding, so if there is no Sakshi, then there is nothing to be known. And this is exactly what Schrodinger also talked about in his Schrodinger's cat, that if you observe, so if there is an observer, then the cat is there. But if there is no observer, then there is no cat. So this is the paradox, that the cat can be there or not be there, depending on whether the observer is there or not there. So the thing is that who's this observer is the important thing. So initially, this process starts when we go to the material world and we look at gross objects like the world. So we see chair, table, etc. And this is the gross world. And it is our body or sense organ that perceive this
Recording stopped.
this particular objects. So the first object is the structure of the world, and observer is the sensory organs. Later on, what sensory organs see, then
Recording
mind
stopped.
mind looks at that, and mind looks at what informations the sensory organs have gained, and then sensory organs become the object, and mind becomes the seeker or knower. Later on, the buddhi looks at what mind has seen, and then it processes that information. So mind becomes the object and buddhi becomes the seeker. But last of all, as we move on and on, ultimately we come to a point where there is the sakshi or the witness or the real consciousness, which is looking at all these objects that are seen. So object can be relative to the final subject, which is the witness or the sakshi. So I think this is the Vedantic concept, and in that you can see the objects are different objects. Gross objects are body and world objects. Then there is a subtle object, starting from senses, the mind, intellect, ego. So these are, again, they are objects. They are not subjects. They are again objects. And each one looks at the other thing, other object as you evolve through these stages. And then the subtlest object is Atma. So that is the subtlest object, Atma, which is still different from Paramatma. So long as Atma remains separate from Paramatma, it is still an object, the subtlest object. When Atma moves into Paramatma, then this becomes the final witness or the Sakshi. So this is, what comes out in the Vedantic concept. Next. So this is, once you understand that this is this kind of chain of the known and the knower, this is the stage 1. Stage 2 is identifying these objects from gross objects to subtle objects to the subtlest object, that is, maybe we can call it Atma. Next. Next slide, please. So, which is the one? So the third stage is then you first looked at the whole concept. Second stage was you identified the objects one by one, the gross objects, subtlest object, and then finally you moved to the real subject, which was the knower or drig. And this subject, how do you identify that this is the subject? Because all others we thought was subject, but until we found out that there was another one looking at that subject. So what is the final subject? They have three qualities. First of all, that the information doesn't come from outside to that subject. It is the subject which is self-illuminous and is the source of all knowledge. So this is a self-illuminous or Swayam Prakash. That is the quality of the final subject. Second is, it is unchangeable. So it is like you have a movie screen, and the screen is the thing, and on that the movie runs. So the movie is the object, and the screen is the subject. And third important thing is that everything ultimately leads to this subject. So there is no other thing than the subject. So there is actually in reality no object, only the subject, and the subject produces these objects according to his desire. So this is, I think, the third stage to understand what is the subject, what is that final subject or sakshi. And the fourth stage is, now what we discussed, if you look at science, how science works. What are the works of the science? And epistemology is how it works. So it can be logic, it works through logic, it works through experimentation. So mostly science will work through experimentation. But how does the knowledge in Vedanta moves? It moves through discernment or vivek. So what is vivek? Vivek is discriminating that this is right and this is wrong. And once that discriminating power comes, then you start in this Vedantic discipline of knowledge. So in Vedanta or in the Hindu system, discrimination or discernment or vivek is the way to gain the knowledge. So that is, I think, very important thing. And there are two things, as the sir also pointed out, Dr. Balram, that two ways this discernment is reached is through dhyan or meditation. And then other thing is neti neti. So you see the object, you say, okay, this is a mic. Then you say, no, this is the sense organ that is perceiving the mic. So this is not the sakshi. Then you think, no, this is mind that is looking at this particular information from sense organs. This is not the subject. Then you move on further, that you analyze through your buddhi and you think, no, this is my mind running around and this is not the true subject. So not this, not this, not this, not this, and ultimately you reach to that final destination, and that is the Paramatma or Supreme Consciousness or Sakshi. So this is, I think, the way it moves, unlike what happens in science. In science, through experimentation you move, you do it again and again, you get the same result, you prove that this is happening. But in this system, you move through vivek or discernment. So this is the way it moves. Next. So this is the stage 4. Next, please. Oh, I have to do the next. Okay. And this is the final stage, when you finally reach to the core and then you have the dawn of unshakable knowledge. So this is the final resolution, that all the universe is supreme Brahman, and which is completely changeless, and it is completely non-dual. So this is the final thing, and everything derives from this. So this is the ultimate seeker or the Sakshi, and this is the ultimate consciousness. So this is the conclusion of this whole arc of Vedantic way of gaining knowledge. Now, as I said, let us compare it with quantum physics, which is the way science moves, and which it has moved in the recent times. So first of all, if you look at the quantum physics, what we understand is quantum physics moves from the object towards the subject. So from object, it moves towards the subject. Whereas this DDV or Drishya Vivek category starts from the subject, focuses on the subject, and then discriminates each and every object through Vivek. So this is a same thing, but approached through different routes. So you have to reach the Mount Everest. You can go from the southern side, or you can go from the northern side. So science may be northern side, and DDV may be the southern side. So you reach the same point, but from a different direction. Okay. So there are 5 important correlations or 5 important comparisons that you can do. So if you look at quantum physics, the Schrodinger cat was a measurement problem. So cat is only there when you have a device for measurement. Unless you have the device for measurement, the cat is not there. So it's a measurement problem, and what it showed was that the cat could not be separated from the observer. Only when the observer was observing, the cat came up. So ultimately, cat and observer were linked in a certain way. So this was what came out through the quantum physics, and the point was that it is an act of measurement and observation, and ultimately when you keep measuring inside, ultimately it collapses into the definite state. So this is what it is. So observer is not somebody, a passive measurement equipment, but is a very active participant in this whole thing, and that is the thing that we get out from quantum physics. And if you look at our thing, DDV, it shows exactly the same thing, that the Drish and Drig are one and same thing only, and no drishya will exist without the drig. So unless there is a observer there, or unless there is a sakshi there, none of it is real. This is only for the purpose of the sakshi, that whole universe has come into picture. And so that means that for every person, it will be a unique universe. It will one person who's sitting here is not viewing this universe in the same way as another person is viewing. It's completely different, and this is also Maya. That everybody is creating their own universe, and this is what it is in Maya as well. So this is, I think, very close to what quantum physics also said, that cat is there and not there. So it's a Maya. Cat is also a Maya. So this is, I think, the convergence point is that classic Newtonian model goes away, and what we observe is that it is, the reality is not out there waiting to be discovered, but it is a function of the observer. So there is nothing to be known unless the knower is there. I don't know why it's not moving now. It gets stuck. What to do? Okay. Okay. Now, second important thing, what quantum physics says, that nothing is real. It is all a potentiality. So this could happen, that could happen. So it is like, it can be any, there is no definite object, there is only waves, there is only quantum field, and what you are observing is one of the functions of that particular field. And for a different person, it could be different. So it is only a potentiality. Nothing is real. As per quantum physics, everything is a potentiality. What we are seeing is that that potentiality has got frozen.
When you are showing that PowerPoint, no, it's going to sleep mode.
Okay.
When you want to change next one, you have to press twice.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, yeah, please come back. Yeah. So the second point is that it is basically a question of potentiality, and there is nothing is fixed real. So there is no reality. Everything is what can happen or what will happen. Again, like something like Maya. So it is whatever is there is definitely not real. It is because of the observer that this thing is coming out. So this is what quantum physics says, and exactly this is what the DDV concept also says. So it is basically solid world is not a solid reality, but it is a derivative of the prime reality. Now, the third thing is, if you analyze this object or this solid thing or whatever, what you start seeing is that it dissolves into a dance of energy, relationships, and possibilities. So this is what quantum physics says, that whatever you think is not the actual thing, but it is a quantum field that is interacting with each other. So energy which is interacting with each other. So this is what it is, and exactly I think same thing Vedanta is also talking about. And then of course the point is with the quantum physics, they really don't know what is the measurement device. Once you look at the Schrodinger's cat, if you look, then it is your eyes. If it is a measuring instrument, it could be a measuring instrument. But what they are unable to reach out is, they have got up to the point that there is some observer. There is some sakshi, but they cannot pinpoint which is that sakshi. That is the one which is measuring the thing. Whether it is our eyes, whether it is something, the eyes meaning the sense organs, then behind sense organs there is the mind, and behind mind there is buddhi. So who's the particular thing that Vedanta is able to answer in a certain way, that it is basically the supreme consciousness or the sakshi that is looking into this thing. And ultimately, you know, the quantum physics also talks about a spooky action, that a object somewhere, and same object can be found elsewhere. Energy somewhere, same energy can be found elsewhere also. So they talk of the spooky action, that everything is related to the other thing. And that is exactly what Vedanta is also saying, that everything is only on the observer's mind, and everything is related to everything else. So this is that spooky action that happens even in Vedanta, which is there in quantum physics. So this is friends, my description, and you can see that if you look at quantum physics, what it is focused on is the drishya or the object, whereas the Vedantic view is fixed on the drig, or that is the seeker. Then the method they use, as I said, is experimentation and logic, mathematical modeling, whereas the Vedantic thing, it is internal discrimination and meditative introspection. So it is a discrimination versus experimentation. This is the difference. The goal is, of course, to come to the common string theory. So quantum physics, every physics has been focused on getting a string theory. One theory explains everything. And I think similar kind of aim is there with the Vedanta also. It is self-knowledge and getting to that supreme knowledge or supreme consciousness that can explain everything. And finally, of course, we know that it is a property of the consciousness, they say, is a property of brain and that kind of thing. But the Vedantic view is somewhat different, that it is the basic thing that has made everything else. So anyway, I think I will now come to the steps, because I think that is another interesting part, that how do you achieve this knowledge of the supreme consciousness, and how different disciplines have reached to that same exact point, whether it is Sufism, whether it is Vedanta, whether it is Jewish Kabbalah, whether it's Orthodox Christianity, Buddhism or Jainism. Ultimately, all reach to that supreme consciousness or this supreme reality. And I wanted to show some of the commonalities between all these disciplines and the steps through which one can achieve this supreme consciousness. Sir, if I'm taking a lot of time, let me know. I will just go very quickly. But I thought this is something, I don't know whether you are interested or not. Please, Okay. So let me talk about this universal human journey that I call of somebody who's born on earth and then reaching to the supreme consciousness. And many people wonder how you get there. Many big sages have reached there, and you might be wondering that, can I reach there, or how can we reach there? I think that is the supreme question at least many of us are facing, at least I am facing. Some others might also be facing this basic question, that are there any steps through which if I proceed, I can reach to the ultimate consciousness? And I've tried to explain through different religions, and as I said, I could be completely wrong, but this is what I have understood. So I will come to that one by one. I could identify 7 stages through which the ego can be transformed. And there are, as I said, parallel shifts in all the disciplines I talked about. And there is a final convergence. So we know that the universe is diverging at the moment. But ultimately, the thing converges into one shunya. And shunya to me is not infinite, it is indeterminate. So this is, I think, mathematically, if you have to describe shunya, I would call it indeterminate, not infinite. Because infinite is still finite. So anyway, I think, so first thing is, the first stage is, which 99% or 99% of individuals born on earth are feeling. They feel, I am the body. So everything that is happening, my liver is feeling, my heart is like this, my skin is this, I am very sensitive, I am this, that. So majority of the people feel that they believe that they are the body. And therefore, for the gratification of body, it is justified to do everything. So if I get more money, if I get more power, my body, I will take care better. And therefore, because I am body, so I will take everything. And so this is that stage stage 1, where most of the humanity is at the moment lying, thinking that I am the body. Next. Okay. So this is where the knowledge remains external, sense-bound, and based on desires. So 3 things. It is external. You get happiness from external things. It is sense-bound through your sense organs. You eat good food, you feel happy. You get a lot of money, you feel good. And they basically serve to take care of the egoic desires, which may be 5 basic egoic desires. But what is the second stage? Now, second stage is interesting. Second stage is the stage where person starts thinking, I'm not the body, मेरी शरीर तो नश्वर है, जल जाएगा, खत्म हो जाएगा, लेकिन I am the mind. So person starts feeling I am the mind. And here I think what important thing happens at this stage, when you can think that you are going into the next stage, when your power of discrimination comes, when Vivek starts rising. So you start knowing this is right, this is wrong. So when your 90% of the time is spent in discriminating between right and wrong, rather than fulfilling your desires. And that is the stage where you will reach the stage 2. And you will feel, I am the mind, and this is the dawn of Vivek, as I said. And so the movement happens from the bodily side towards the mental side. So you become mind. Now what happens with this mind? Once you become mind, you feel right, wrong. So then what happens? When you feel right, wrong, then you start understanding that, okay, in my life I have done so many wrongs. I misled my teacher, I cheated that particular XYZ person, I did this wrong, I did that wrong. So there will be a stage of self-blaming. And if you look at the Sufi thing, they call it repentance. So person will start repenting. I did so much wrong. He will have a guilt. He will keep feeling that I did not live life according to what was desired. And therefore, this is not the way to do. And this repentance will come in. And this discrimination will come in. Vivek will come in. And right and wrong understanding gets focused on. So I think that is important. So this is the second stage. Now coming to third stage. Okay, so right versus wrong, as I said. Now coming to third stage, the person starts understanding that this is right, this is wrong. But then what happens? If you look at the Christian thing, they will say that since I have done so many wrongs, Jesus will forgive me. So Jesus will forgive me because I have done wrong and now I am repenting for it, so Jesus will forgive me. In Sufism, what will happen is, he will start understanding, or let us come to the Hinduist concept. They will get out of this karmic cycle. So they will start understanding, like, I am not the person who has done this wrong. This is my mind that did this wrong. And Buddhi comes in and Buddhi says, no, this is not, you have done this wrong, this is, your mind has done this wrong and you are not mind. You are not mind and therefore you have not done this wrong. So you get the forgiveness. And at this stage, basically, you start having this sattvic mind, this pratibha, gyan, or intuitive flash starts coming. And in Sufism, the real knowledge starts coming. The real knowledge, what is the real knowledge? Why I have not done any wrong? Am I going to die? That is the main question that human being is faced with, ontological crisis, that I am going to die, and death is not important. What will happen to me? Will I be completely finished? That is the end of me as I know it, or do I continue even after my death? So that is, I think, the primal question, and that gets answered here. The Buddhi tells you that you are permanent. So instead of right and wrong, the knowledge becomes truth and untruth, or truth, permanence, and transience. So this thing is permanent. I am permanent. But other things may be temporary. This life may be temporary. This tree may be temporary. This other thing will be temporary. But I am the permanent thing. And when that permanence thing comes in, so then you think you are the Buddhi. Because Buddhi tells you real knowledge comes and you feel that you are the permanent being and therefore you are not going to die. And so this kind of thing happens. So different religions talk about the same thing happening in a different way. So ultimately, as I said, the discriminating intellect, Buddhi, comes in and it gives the inspiration. And here 90% of the time is in understanding what is truth and what is untruth, what is permanent and what is transient. So now 90% of humans' life will be, the thought process will be on this lines, what is permanent and what is not permanent. And here person will get free of the karmic bandhan, as we say. So the karma doesn't affect because you did not do it. It was the mind that was doing it. You have not done it. And therefore you forgive yourself. So many, many ways to explain the same thing. Now coming to the fourth stage. So once you understand that you are permanent, what you get? You get Shanti. All the time you were disturbed that, okay, I'm going to die, this liver is going, that is happening, what will happen to me, what will happen to my children, what will happen to my wealth, what will happen? You realize that whatever happens, they are permanent, I am permanent. Nothing is going to be finished. And once you have this understanding that nothing is going to get finished, everything is permanent, then you start getting Shanti. So this is the stage where you get Shanti, or you can become, you get the peace, or Shanti or Anand, and in Sufism they call it Mutmain. So you become Mutmain, ki ab kuch nahi ho sakta. So this is the phase, and all the other religions have got a similar kind of explanation for this particular stage, which is the stage 4, serene self, unshakable certainty that I am a permanent person, and this is permanent, this is not, so you have that peace. And so, like Muslims say, peace be on you. This is what it means, that you will get this understanding. And we say, Anand mile. So this is what is meant by Anand, that you will understand that you are permanent and not transient, and therefore you will not worry about unnecessary things. Now, what is the fifth stage? Okay, let us come to, so basically at this stage, the transformation happens, you become source of all inspiration, you understand that you are a permanent being, and then you get peace, and then you understand, I am that peace that people are talking about, I am that knowledge about that peace that is there in the picture. And I am this peaceful, contented Atma, part of Brahman. So this is the kind of stage that you reach in this stage 4. Now coming to stage 5, this is the please self. So once you understand that you are permanent and you are happy, and you are at peace, you feel happy with the God. That, okay, because of this God, I have got this peace, and I have got this permanence. So you become happy with the God, and you get into something called Paramanand. So you feel happy with the God, and you become, at this stage, you become Atma. Because you understand that I am the Atma, and you become happy with God, and you understand everything, and you are pleased with the God. In Sufism, this is called Fana hone ka irada. Fana al-irada. Fana is the final moksha, but this is the irada that you start towards the final journey towards the non-duality. Okay, so here the peace leads to permanent happiness, Paramanand. And you understand, I am this Atma, and all that happens is only a play. It's only a game, it's only a movie that is happening. I am the Atma that is witnessing all this movie. But still remember, you are separate from Paramatma at this stage. So this is an important point to make. You feel you are the Atma, but you are not the Paramatma. So this is still that difference there. And so a couple of slides more now. So finally, you reach the stage 6, where in the stage 5, you are pleased with God. In stage 6, you feel God is pleased with me, and I am that chosen person. So it is at this stage that Sant, we call it Sant, and they can do miracles, because they understand that God works through my will. So whatever I will be God's will, and that will happen. So all the miracles, what Christians do, what even we witness, they start happening here. And you become part of the God's action. And so this is that particular stage. And there is a lot of discussion on this stage, and people feel this is the most difficult phase to cross, because you feel that God is acting through you. So people think I am the best chosen person in the universe, and therefore you get proud, and this is the last ego that clings to you, that मैं तो बहुत अच्छा इंसान हूँ, मैं तो भगवान का वो हूँ. तो वो जो ईगो है, वो लास्ट ईगो है जो आदमी के मन में रहती है कि मैं आई एम द चोजन वन, and that ego is very difficult to break. And but if you can cross that stage, and here, as I said, God is happy with me, He operates through me, I am the chosen one. So I am that limitless consciousness, prajanan, in which the individual and the universe play. I am that. That is what the person thinks. But still there is a difference between I and him. And actually, Christian religion nearly ends here. So they will always say, even many other religions end here, they will say that, okay, I reach to God or God starts acting through me, but the difference is I am not God. So this is the final difference. And the last stage is, of course, this nirvana, shunyata, or we call it moksha, and Sufi call it fana. And so this is the stage where I become God. So now there is no me. There is no me. All me is gone. It's only the Paramatma that has remained. And that is the final stage that has to be reached by all. And as per Hindu religion, at least everybody will reach this stage at some point or the other. Whether you need 1 life or you need 100 lives to reach that stage, we don't know. But everybody will reach. And there is nothing happening. If you have some misstep somewhere, you may go back a little bit, but ultimately everybody will reach this particular stage. So I think this is all I wanted to say. And this final stage is Sat Chit Anand. Everything is achieved. And there is no I myself to identify. It's only the Brahman. And I am, that is no longer applicable. And that is that. So I'm not that. Only that is there. So that is the thing. And this is, I think it has not come out well. So this is the stages, how they work. So thank you so much for your kind attention. So I hope I did not bore you or anything.
Different school of thoughts have been put forward here. And in the ultimate slide, he says that only the non-duality appears to be the picture.
Ultimate reality.
Ultimate reality. So this is where the world ultimately goes to. But it will take all other stages also. So if the session is now open, a wonderful presentation. And if anybody has any question, yeah, please. Mic.
Sir, it is a very enlightening session, sir. But especially these 7 stages, how do we come out of it? Like, let's say I'm in 6th stage, and then I get confused and think that I'm at the 7th stage. So how do we realize that, and how do we that obstacles or hurdles, how do we cross?
So the very fact that you are saying I'm at the 6th stage means you are I. So you are not 7. Okay. So that itself is proves that you are not more than 6th stage. Otherwise you would say I'm everything. So I'm not there, then I'm nothing. So anyway, what I would say, sir, can I have your please? So there are various ways to cross these stages, various disciplines. I mean, I've looked at many disciplines also, how they approach this. So people have talked different ways. Every discipline has got its own thing. And because you talked of 6, I will give you a very interesting Sufi thing of the 6th stage. So at this stage, person becomes a Masiah, you can say, like Muhammad in Sufis. Or in Hindus, there are a lot of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he reached that particular stage. After 7th, nobody is here, so they are already gone. But at 6th stage, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be there. His Chaitanya would be, jag gaya hoga. So what Sufi says, kya karna chahiye? Sufi कहते हैं कि आप 6th stage पे you feel so good कि मैं तो भगवान के जैसा हो गया हूँ, and everything God is working through me. So what they have done is, वो मैं खाने में जाएंगे, वो पिएंगे नहीं शराब, लेकिन वो लोगों को दिखाएंगे कि मैं शराब पी रहा हूँ. वो जाएंगे, कुछ ऐसे काम करेंगे कि लोगों को लगेगा कि नहीं यार ये तो बहुत खराब गिरा हुआ इंसान है. Rather than thinking that he is a very evolved man, they will start saying that ये तो बहुत गिरा हुआ इंसान है. तो उससे उसको ये reality मिलेगी कि नहीं, मैं नहीं हूँ अभी भी God. And then he will transcend this stage. This is the Sufi way. But जो Hindu way है वो ये कहता है कि there are vibrations. So there are various vibrations जो कि आपको नेक्स्ट स्टेज पे ले जाएंगे और आपके माइंड को उस डायरेक्शन में ले जाएंगे जहाँ पे जाना है. एंड व्हाट आर दोज वाइब्रेशंस? जैसे कि आप अगर कुछ श्लोक पढ़ते हैं, जैसे कि आप कुछ कर्म करते हैं, जैसे कि आप गुरु के संपर्क में रहते हैं, तो वो जो चीज़ें हैं वो आपके माइंड को उस नेक्स्ट स्टेज की तरफ ले जाएंगी. या फिर आप सात्विक खाना खाते हैं तो वो जो है आपके में राइट वाइब्रेशंस, जैसा कि सबने डिस्कस करा कि अल्टीमेटली इट इज़ वाइब्रेशंस. हम भी वाइब्रेशन है और जो हमारा थॉट भी वाइब्रेशन है, हमारा माइंड भी वाइब्रेशन है, हमारी बुद्धि भी वाइब्रेशन है. जब तक कि हम वो सुप्रीम कॉन्शियसनेस में नहीं पहुंच जाते जो कि द रियलिटी है, बाकी सब कुछ वाइब्रेशन है और जो कि दृश्य है, या जो कि जैसे हम कहते हैं कि हमारे अपने हिंदू में कहते हैं कि हम शिव शंकर जो होते हैं ना, जैसे कि एक उनमें लिंग होता है और नीचे वो होता है, तो जो लिंग है वो सुप्रीम कॉन्शियसनेस है और जो नीचे वो है वो पूरे का पूरा जगत है जो है. तो बेसिकली वो ये कहते हैं कि आपको जो है, आपको अगर राइट वाइब्रेशंस मिलेंगे, तो अगर आप सज्जनों के साथ रहते हैं और उनके साथ सत्संग करते हैं, अगर आप राइट काइंड ऑफ म्यूज़िक सुनते हैं जिसमें कि वेद पुराण के हो सकते हैं, जिसमें कि आप राइट काइंड ऑफ खाना खाते हैं, तो आपका चांसेस हैं कि यू कैन मूव इनटू द नेक्स्ट स्टेज. सो फर्स्ट स्टेज के लिए भी ये है, क्योंकि फर्स्ट स्टेज में ये है कि आपको राइट रॉन्ग करना है, तो गिल्ट होना है, गिल्ट होगा बहुत ज़्यादा. तो आदमी कई बार सुसाइड भी कमिट कर लेता है कि ये तो टॉलरेट नहीं कर पाता. लेकिन जो गिल्ट है वो आदमी को नहीं होगा, मेजॉरिटी लोगों को नहीं होगा. वो कहेंगे हमने सब सही करा, सब बढ़िया था.
Professor Mishra, there are some people who wants to ask questions through Zoom.
Whatever, sir. You choose.
can-
अगर उनका आंसर मिल गया तो I can move to the next.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is different ways.
Sumangala, you can speak?
Yes, Professor Sundari, you can ask now your question.
Me? Sorry?
Yes, they can ask by unmuting.
Please unmute yourself, Professor Sundari.
Yeah, I am unmuted, madam. But is there another Professor Sandeep?
Yeah, another one is there.
Okay.
We can't hear them.
Maybe they can write and then we
Yeah,
can read.
you
the
can
message.
read that question if they can write you. Okay?
But I have to tell you, I am not the expert, so please don't.
I'm asking a question to Professor Mishra. That you have been working on this, human living body for many years as a doctor. You operated, and you also presented very nice talk about how fast beating of heart starts. So I am asking you how these all cells, they know that they have to work in a particular way. Means where that knowledge, epistemology, which we were discussing, in the body, different organs they are getting. So science has any answer to this type of question, or they don't bother, they just work by program or something like that?
So the way the science works is the reductionism. So they will take one organ, they will study that organ. They will not study the interrelationship between the things. And that last lecture I discussed also told you that heart does not work alone. It has to, actually it works in concert with all other organs. But more importantly, it works under the guidance of another supreme being, one next level observer that is trying to control all these interactions. So this is true. And science is unfolding it. It's unfolding it piece by piece. So first they look at the whole body, then they look at heart, then they start understanding there is an interaction of heart with other body, then they start moving. So this is the different kind of way. And through experimentation they are moving. So, but the Vedantic thing is moving through Viveka concept. So right, wrong. So intuitive right, wrong you understand. And the way to, what sir asked कि कैसे ये जगे, तो वो उसके ये तरीके सारे जो वो हैं.
That why we are so afraid to talk about things which are true. Actually, what is happening in modern science, there is a history that there is a conflict between science and religion, like Galileo and other things. But we don't have any such conflict in East. But somehow, yesterday also I was discussing, we have taken up Western as the benchmark. And we follow their mindset and their way of looking into things, what Darwin has said, what this Newton has said. But what our teachers and ancients and sages have told, we see it as something outdated, because British have made us to think in that way. and to work under them to get some salary and money. And even the research is controlled by funding, that what kind of conclusions they have to make, so the fund can be given. And that is quite prominent in the West, and East it is done more subtle way. So I want to ask you, as intellectual, as professional, as leaders of the society, we have a responsibility to bring our what you can say present environment more respectful to our ancient tradition and history.
Sir, I think what obviously you're right, but what I'm saying, what I would say is, and personally what I would say is that we are in a very unique position. So many of us have this kind of continuity of the spiritual structure that is there in our families, and we imbibe it from our elders. And so we intuitively and reflexly. So when you say something, I would intuitively know that this is right. So this is this viveka, what I was talking about. That what you are saying is right, and what some XYZ is saying is wrong. I would intuitively know. I may not come out with a scientific explanation or a theory or something, but I will intuitively know that what he is saying is correct. And so this is that arising of viveka that is happening. I'm not saying I have it, but I think everybody has it. And this is because of our very unique situation of being born as Hindus in maybe some families where there is tradition is going on. What we need to do is to learn the Western concept, as Dr. Balram also did. I mean, having very deep insight into the spiritualism of Vedanta, and then working outside, and then trying to understand, integrating both of them together. What you are exactly doing, actually, this is what you are doing. And in that, naturally you will face problems with people who are not aware of this whole discipline at all. But Indians, fortunately, are aware of it, and most of them will agree with you. There may be some misguided people who will think of something else. But I think, I am very hopeful. And I know majority of us have got this very strong spiritual tradition passed on from generations to generation, and we intuitively understand these things. So we are at the best position, and to my children, I also told them, get the best possible knowledge, and guess the best possible thing, so that you can be a mediator between these two disciplines.
Everybody is there. Their questions are in Zoom.
In Zoom, anybody, is there any questions from online? Just check if there are any questions written in the.
Ask some questions.
If anybody has written, just check that.
She has not written anything.
Okay. So if there are no more questions, yeah.
Introduced to your group through Dr. Balram Singh ji.
Speak loudly, no problem. Will be
Through Dr. Balram Singh ji from US, I got connected with your group today, first time. It's very interesting analysis, and I like to get in touch with you.
Sorry, could not hear properly, madam. Please, can you repeat?
No, I have put my sound on. I have unmuted it also.
Yes, please repeat. I think there was
No, can you tell me what is the question, madam? I couldn't hear.
No question. I'm just saying thank you to get connected.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, no questions, only thank you. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I like to get in connected because I'm interested in the way the science and the Vedanta, that is my favorite subject.
Yeah. No, we are very grateful to Dr. Balram for carrying on this and being at this, Ivy League situation, and then also integrating it with the, Vedantic concepts or the Eastern mysticism. So that's I think the way, and that will definitely provide solutions to the humanity, I think, in times to come.
I'm studying Vedas and Upanishads. That is for my personal spiritual thing is different.
Yeah.
But I'm also doing the study of Bhaskaracharya's Leelavati. Being a computer professional for 40 years, studying Bhaskaracharya's Leelavati Ganitam, and also Vaisheshika Darshan, my most favorite subject of Kanadacharya, molecular physics. And what is attracting me is how our Indian sciences and spirituality were very, very interconnected, whereas in the West we say science and religion.
Yeah. I think a lot of concepts, we think quantum theory is revolutionary, but Vedas were like 4,000, minimum 4,000 years ago, maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 BC. And at that time, the concepts they are describing, and they are written there. So it's not that somebody has just invented them for the purpose. And the same thing quantum physics is also saying. So it shows that there was something there, for sure, in the Eastern mysticism. May not be completely accurate or things like that, and things may have evolved over a period of time, but there was a certain level of advancement in human thought at that point of time, which is like coming up only now.
Recently, I started improving my Sanskrit. I'm attending regularly Sanskrit classes, trying
Recording
to do
stopped.
Sanskrit. And what I find very, very interesting is that in the Eastern philosophy, that is Dhanatan Dharma or whatever, we should not put boundaries. The science was also one of the Shastras, and it was not a Shastra differing from spirituality. And your subject is most interesting because you are linking the consciousness with the quantum. And wonderful subject. I'm thrilled with it. I'm really thrilled. I would like to be in more touch with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for encouragement.
Sir, regarding this vibrations, nowadays, yeah, now, yeah, nowadays we are having more of negative vibrations as a norm. So how do we come out of it? First point. Second point is when we are in this highly exalted state, like seventh state or sixth state, wherever, why are we again and again slipping back to zero or minus and all this?
It's a sap seed game. So you get bitten by snakes, so you have to be careful of the snakes. And that is why, every stage they describe that this can happen. So you have to take care of it. And the way they have described is very definite, sir. They have said, okay, do satsang, you do meditation, and you do...
Instead of paying our $3,700 for the Pad S9 FE, buy the Xiaomi Tab 7. I've already found deals from our $3,200 with my deal group on my profile. And with this tablet,
No, means
Ignore them, then
since it has the Snapdragon
like Vishwamitra ji, when he's attaining Brahmarshi, then again he comes back to Menaka.
this happens, sir. This is very frequent. And it has been described everywhere. So this is, as if you look at the Christian thing, they say fall of the Satan. So Satan nearly reached God, and then he had a fall and he reached somewhere else. And same thing, Vishwamitra had this thing, and lot of saints, Sufi saints had the same thing. Yeah, potential is there. Field is there.
I think nice. We have a nice discussion.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr.
Thank
Our next speaker is
Mandeep Mishra for his wonderful presentation. And now we have to move on to last talk, I think.
This is the last talk of this session. Dr. Devi Prasad Mishra. He'll be coming online. Yeah. So shall I? So let me introduce Dr. Devi Prasad. Devi Prasad Mishra. Devi Prasad Mishra is a professor in the Department of Aerospace Engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, and adjunct professor at the Center for Indian Knowledge. Oh, yeah, it is working. So he is earlier served as a director of NITTR, Kolkata, and currently chairs the Board of Governors of the Government College of Engineering, Kalhandi. And he has his research spans propulsion, combustion, atomization, and he has held the Indian Oil Golden Jubilee Professional Chair at IIT Kanpur. Authored about 5 textbooks, 3 monographs, 13 edited volumes, and has several patents, 7 patents to his credit. And now we will be going to listen to him. Shaping the future of science through the vision of Vedanta.
Sumangala, can you stop sharing the screen on the Zoom? We are writing it, you are not, you are muted and you are talking. You are muted.
Actually, I'm
Yeah,
stop.
we are not hearing you. We are not hearing you.
Maharaj, I am unable to stop the sharing. You can
Then you give me, this owner, thing, share to me, transmit to me.
okay.
Transferred. Right click on my, name and then you give it. Professor Devi Prasad Mishra, can you share your screen, your PowerPoint? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That we cannot do that until she stops sharing. Why not giving me the permission?
Yes, I'm giving. Just wait.
You're not given me the ownership permission.
It's done now. Please.
Maharaj,
It's done.
you're not understanding what you're telling.
Maharaj is done. You can stop now.
Restore default drag to record allow recording. Yeah, I think it is there. Huh? Dr. Devi Prasad Mishra, can you speak? Hello? We can't hear you. He's not able to.
He disconnected. Calling.
Wait. Don't do that. Yeah. He's not there in the.
Yes, he is disconnected.
You still not given me the permission as the owner.
I have given you.
You
Your
have given,
host now. Yes, yes.
but I not see that coming here.
Host now. Maharaj, please check, please. Yeah, yes. It is visible. You are host now.
Yeah. Can you ask Devi Prasad Mishra is not there?
Asking. Yes, Professor.
Professor Devi Prasad Mishra,
Now he is here.
can you speak now? Yeah. You share the screen. Can you share the screen? We can't hear your voice, Dr. Devi Prasad Mishra. Can you speak louder? Yeah. Pen drive. Hey, pen drive is there. Can you take out that pen drive? Professor Mishra, can you speak?
Is it audible?
Yeah. Can you share your screen?
No, I don't have. Is it audible?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Is it audible?
Yes.
Then I can start. Can I start now?
Yes.
So you can start now.
Okay, fine. So, I really, सबको मेरा नमस्कार. And today, actually, I'm going to talk about shaping the future of science through the vision of Vedanta. All of you are aware that what is the meaning of science? Science is what we know is a systematic knowledge.
You have a PowerPoint, Professor Devi Prasad?
World and its phenomena.
Professor Devi Prasad, you have a PowerPoint?
Oh, I don't have PowerPoint.
Okay.
And also I am having limited this thing. So phenomena that entails unbiased observation and systematic experimentation. If this is the definition what generally people talk about, And then question arises, how do you call the social science, political science, nowadays economic science? This is the very dichotomy what we face. But if I look at it, that if I define the science is a systematic knowledge about a particular field of study and organizes the knowledge in the form of rational explanations about the living beings and the entire the universe or the cosmos, then it makes sense. Okay. So therefore, this definition of the social science, political science, that means it is basically a field of what is called systematic knowledge. Hmm. And with, of course, rational form. And if you look at our ancient system is basically based on the three things: Tathya, Tarka, Anubhav. That means you will have to have a fact or figures, then you will have a rational logic and the experiences, and what will be very well amalgamate the Western way of the definition what they have given. Of course, the science has, if you look at in Indian sense, it is according to Siva Purana, it is the Vijnana, we call it true knowledge. And what is true knowledge? What is knowledge? That we'll have to look at it. And knowledge is very